We're already in February, so almost through this winter. It doesn't feel like it. What I would like to do today is finish up Module 4, and then I put an instructor case out there today. We'll probably have time to do that today as well. I still think I have everything due for Monday. It says tentative. Is that? Yeah, that's February 6th. But that's probably more locked in because I think we're going to finish up everything today, so you'll have quite a long time to work on Module 4. So what we're doing in Module 4 is kind of a little bit of a review of what we did in Stat 301 with graphs. And Excel really got a lot better at graphs in like 2007. I think that became a more robust feature of it. There are a series of graphs that are brand new to 2016 that I've actually never used until preparing for this module, but we'll look at some of those things today. We learned as well a way to show data in a cell, like a little chart in a cell. What do we call those? Where we show like a line chart or a little column chart or a win-loss chart in one cell. So what do we call that? Kind of a cool name, actually. Spark lines, right? And spark lines are very good. Remember, you're trying to convey information to someone. Numbers are tough for us to get our mind around, right? We see a bunch of numbers in a table, and we're like, what's going on here? A picture is worth 1,000 words, and it's true. So if we can compress a picture into that table, that can really inform people. As well, we also use something called data bars, and data bars are little bars inside of cells. And what do we use to do them? Good morning, Andres. What do we use to create those? The same tool that we used earlier for making cells like red or green based on the values in them. Use conditional formatting, right? That's in the conditional formatting tool. The other thing we learned in this module, and we're going to do more of this in a future model, there's a whole module based on financial functions, but we introduced the PMT function, IPMT, it's the interest part of payments, PPMT, the principal part of payments. But there's all kind of functions based on rates and those kind of things, so we'll do more of that later. But let's go to that file, and if you don't have what we were working on last, we just go to Module 4 Data Files, go to Module, and then click on Backspace. But if you have Backspace, I think I saved it on the desktop here, yeah I did. Bring up Backspace, okay? So some of the things we did, pie charts and data bars and all those nice things. So what I want to look at today, let's go to market data. Let's go to market data, which is the fourth worksheet. And if you guys remember from Stat 301, we used to build histograms with data analysis histogram. Do you guys recall that? Well, in 2016, Excel actually added that tool as part of Excel Native, not as an add-in. So what we're going to do is run a histogram of annual income. You see annual income is column E. So what I'd like you to do is let's go to E6. Let's select that whole column. It goes down quite far. Let's see. I'm just doing shift page down, and that gets me, I'm holding in the shift key, that gets me a page at a time. But it looks like we're highlighting E6 down to E506. Okay. And then I want to go to Insert, and in our chart grouping, this is a brand new grouping, so I think everyone got upgraded to 2016 in this class, right? Everyone has 2016? Yes? No? Steve, you do not?
I don't think so.
Yeah, then you will not have this. So what you need to do, Steve, is go over to the laptop help desk and give them to them and say upgrade to 2016. Yeah, because this won't exist in 2013. Okay.
Gotcha.
So under charts, you see a little histogram. That is statistical chart grouping, and the very first one says histogram, and it looks very much like a histogram that we built in Stat 301. So let's just build one. Okay. And obviously it still has the same features. We can change the background, all those things. We can look at different layouts. But remember, a histogram is a way to look at interval data, numeric data, and kind of get a sense of where things are. This one, what shape is that? We use that a lot in Stat 301. What shape is that? It's not perfect, but it's a bell-shaped distribution. This is income, so there's a whole bunch of people in that same area. There's a few outliers that make very little. There's a few outliers that make a whole lot. Now, one of the things we like to change, and it was kind of a pain in the butt to change, remember we spent a lot of time in Excel saying how big are we going to make the bins, right? That's the classes. Remember the width of those bars represents the class. Well, this new tool makes it a lot easier. If I right-click on the x-axis, and it brings up Format Axis. Do you guys see Format Axis? So let's go to Format Axis. And you'll see it has an it's automatically picking those bins for me. But if I want the bins to be by, it looks like it's by 9,700, which is kind of an ugly way to count if you think about it. So let's change that. Let's check out bin width. And let's change it to, I don't know, let's go every 20,000. So I want to put 20,000 in there. I'm going to hit enter. And now you'll see it's every 20,000. Now I might have wanted to go every 5,000, and I could do that pretty simply by changing that to 5,000. The other thing that we can do is we could change, the number of bins that we wanted as well. And it looks like, why is there no? I guess when they put the data in, they didn't have any fives. You know what I'm saying? It looks like the mocked up data. That's why there's gaps in that, because the data's goofy. Yes.
You can see if I have it.
Go to your cursor. No, you do not. So if you want to see what version you're on, go to File, Account, and over here you'll see what does yours say, Stephanie? Yeah. Okay. And Steve? No. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you guys remember at the beginning of the class I said if you have 2013, so this is passive aggressiveness here, go over to the laptop help desk and get upgraded. Well, you have to do that now, okay? Because these tools aren't available in 2013. They'll do that, just like that. They should anyway. They told me they would because I contacted Nick, all right? So you need 2013 to do a lot of the tools we're going to do today. And if you guys, if you have troubles with the laptop help desk and you want an extension, I can give you an extension. Okay. All right, so that is a histogram. That's a nice little tool. Let's go to where is it? The one that has. I want the one that has. Yeah, let's go to projected cash flow. And a tool that I haven't utilized a lot, but remember we're trying to convey as much information as we can to someone in one picture when we do a chart. Well, there's something known as a combo chart. And a combo chart is, as the name, and this should be available in 2013, so if you guys should be able to do this. Shows two charts at once, right? So that means we need to give it two data series at once. So I'm going to go to projected cash flow, and I'm going to highlight A4 to K4. So I have the category, I have the year, and I have the amount of packs produced and sold. And so I'm going to hold down the control key, and I'm also going to highlight net income. So what I want to do here is I want to graph simultaneously packs produced and sold, so how much I'm making, and also net income. I want to show both of those series on one graph, but I want to show them differently. Okay, so I'm going to go up to Insert, and let's just go to, let's click on the Expand, see All Charts. And here I'm going to do All Charts. At the very bottom, you guys see Combo? Yes? So you should have that in 2013 as well, yes, okay. So click on Combo. And it says, all right, this is what your chart looks like right now. And it says there's two series that you're graphing, packs produced, sold, and net income. We're showing right now packs produced and sold as a clustered column. You notice that? And we're showing net income as a line. I'm going to switch that around. So we're going to change packs produced and sold to a line. So let's do a line there. And let's change net income to a column. And I want to show, this is the primary axis, this thing on the left, where we typically see the y-axis. Well, I want to show packs produced and sold on the secondary axis. The reason for that is, if we look at it, packs produced and sold is like small numbers, like 1,000, 1,800. We're talking about hundreds of thousands. So this line, it moves up a little bit, but you can't see it because it's all being graphed on the one axis, and we can't see the change. So I'm going to move that to a secondary axis by checking that box. And what it did was it said, all right, we have for the column chart, we have net income, and then for the line chart we have products produced and sold. And I'm going to click OK, and we get a chart. Okay, and we can see, kind of the things happening here. So it looks like, we started out producing not too many items, but it looks like about year 5 we kind of started breaking even, and we started producing and selling more items. Now, if I wanted to move this line, because it kind of gives you the sense that it's negative, and it really isn't, right? We're never produced negative items. That's not really possible. Might as well make this black so I can see it better. We never really produce negative items. How can I move that line up so that it's always above the x-axis, if you will? What's a way I could do that? Any ideas, any thoughts? What could I do? Brad?
Could you start like the units produced like at?
Yeah, so I'm going to take the secondary axis. Once again, I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to go down to Format Axis. And it chooses, the bounds for me. And it says minimum is 0, maximum is 20,000. Well, I'm going to choose the minimum because it's going to start down here. So I'm going to choose the minimum to be negative, I don't know, let's do negative, see what it looks like. I'll do negative 8,000 and hit enter. I didn't quite move it up over, I want it moved up over the x-axis. Didn't quite do it. Let's try negative 9,000. Let's do negative 10,000. Okay, so obviously I never produced negative 10,000 or negative 5,000 items, but now we can kind of see that this looks better, right? I can see this is above the x-axis, and I can see, oh, okay, this is how many I produced, and this is how it affected net income. And I can see, hey, about, between the years 5 and 6 is when I started breaking even, right? When I stopped losing money. Does this make sense? So a combo chart is a nice way to convey two things at once, but also convey the relationship between two things. You know what I'm saying? Like how units produced and sold affects the important bottom line, which is net income. Yes? Okay, so that's a combination chart. Let's go back to market data. And this one you also only have in 2016, so if you don't have 2016, you won't be able to do this. But it says factors when buying, okay? So factors when buying, that little table. I want to highlight that. So brand name, you notice it goes 64, 97, 118, 221. Let's highlight that, do insert. And once again, I'm going to go to the statistical grouping, only available in 2016. I'm going to click the drop down. And instead of the histogram, I'm going to go over here to this chart, which is called the Pareto chart. And I'm going to insert that guy. Does anyone know what a Pareto chart is or what the Pareto rule is? Anyone ever hear of that rule? Anyone ever hear of the 80-20 rule? Come on. You guys are like juniors and senior business majors. You never heard of the 80-20 rule? Well, we failed you. What does it mean?
80% of your revenues come from 20%.
20% of what?
80% of your revenue comes from 20%.
Yeah, okay. So it applies to a lot of different things, but he's right. Like a lot of times they say it applies to sales. Like 80% of your revenue, it's not like 80-20 adds to 100, right? That's not what the Pareto rule means, like 80% here, 20% here. But a lot of times, many things follow like this kind of power function where 80% of your total revenue comes from maybe 20% of your customers, right? And even they say sometimes like 80% of the cause or the effect comes from 20% of the cause as a general way to look at it. Like, 80% of my improvement came from 20% of this, 20% of my effort. You know what I'm saying? That's what the Pareto rule is all about. Oftentimes, we look at the Pareto rule or Pareto chart when we're trying to identify issues. Like maybe we have a lot of issues, like in manufacturing or whatever, quality control. So we try to look at the factors that contribute the most. And automatically, this Pareto chart, I don't know if you noticed that, but it didn't matter what grouping these things were in. And let's just change it to make sure that I'm not a liar. Let's change this to, 300. Okay, now you notice that got put first. Brand name got put first because it's the biggest. So always, the way the Pareto chart will show you is the thing that's the biggest will come first. And then that orange, it's kind of a combo chart, shows us the cumulative percentage that are in those categories. So if we look at it, just focus on brand name and quality, that's about 80% of the customer preference, right? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? No, yes? No? Yes, no? You guys understand this rule, what we're doing here? It's used a lot in quality, right? So you might have an issue with a process and you want to see, how can I fix that process? Well, maybe you can't do everything, 1,000 things that would make that process better. You want to start with the 2 or 3 main contributors, right? And this is what helps you identify those things. It's called Pareto rule. Do yourself a favor and Google it, read up on Wikipedia. It's something like educated people should understand, right? You guys are educated people. So it's called the 80-20 rule, and there's a lot of different applications of it, and it's in sales and quality control, and actually it's been argued. It used to be worse. Okay, it used to be. Like here's an example of it. Like if we look at revenue and like movies. Okay, so what was the best in 2016? What do you think the highest? I don't know what it is, but you guys tell me. What was the highest grossing movie? What? For real? I never heard of it. Deadbolt? Deadpool? Never hit my radar. So Deadpool, what else? Maybe that's Star Wars, Rogue One, maybe? Okay. So if you said number 1 was Deadpool, right? Number 2 is, Star Wars, and whatever, 3, 4, 5. What we're saying here is, okay, 80% of the revenue is, the top 20% of movies. And actually, in some industries, I think movies industry is one of them, it's even worse than that. It's like 10% accounts for 90%. Sometimes it gets changed from the 80-20 rule to a different rule. And what's happening though, and I talk about this sometimes in MIS class, is at one point, how many TV stations were there? Like when I was a kid, there was like 3, maybe. ABC, NBC, CBS, right? And if you think about it, if you weren't played on the radio as a band, no one knew about you. But now what happens? Now you and I could have a TV show, Steve. Me and you could do a daily video podcast down in Adamucci every morning, and we wouldn't need any kind of means of production, right? So we would be way down here, right? But this tail got longer and longer. You know what I'm saying? Like the tail got longer and longer. Now there's indie bands that don't have to have like a big recording studio, right? They can they can release it right to whatever the hell they release it to. You know, you guys would know, Spotify, maybe, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? That we can make our own movie, right? So it's still, though, even in certain industries like movies, entertainment industry, you know, it's like 10-90, like your top 10 things, you know, 10% account for 90% of your revenue, yes? I would say at St. Francis, I would say probably the same. If you look at like majors, like the majors at St. Francis, probably our top 20% of our majors, you know, the top 20% account for 80% of our student tuition revenue. I guarantee it. You know, I can think of the ones that do, you know, you can name them too, right? So the Pareto rule, you'll see it a lot of things. It's also called the power rule. You'll see a lot of that in the business world. All right, that's tangential. So that is the Pareto chart. Okay. And these other ones I have not utilized a whole bunch, okay? But let's take a look at a couple of them. So let's go into our projected cash flow. Let's move this. I'm just going to delete this guy. Let's just move it. Let's move to a new sheet. Okay. So let's go back to projected cash flow. And this one I was playing with in my office, and I really didn't get it to work the way I wanted it to work. So I had to, because the book doesn't show an example of it. They show an example of it, but they don't show how to create it, which I don't know why the author chose not to do that. But I think what you have to do is you have to show positive numbers as positive and negative numbers as negative. When I say that, I mean like revenue should be positive and expenses need to be negative. So what I'm going to do, and hopefully you'll do the same, is I'm going to go into the expenses, this K16, and let's make this negative 500,000. Negative 500,000. This is negative 600,000. This is negative 60,000. This is negative 75,000. And this is negative 20,000. Okay, so because expenses are, you know, coming out of something, I want to show it as a negative, even though in this income statement it's shown as a positive. And I never got this to work, but I think this is going to work. Let's try to show income and expenses on this new type of chart that, like I said, I've never really used very much, but it's called a waterfall chart. So what I want you to do is I want you to select A7 to A13, hold down the control key. I want you to select K7 through K13. You know, the control key is still down. I want you to select A16 through A21. And I want you to select K16 through K21. So what we're trying to do here is say, okay, this is a category that goes with this data. This is a category that goes with this data, right? I'm just doing year 10. We'll do year 10 revenue and expenses. You guys with me? Okay, let's go to insert. And this is 2016 only. And we're going to go to the statistical group and go to more statistical charts. And down below, you'll see something called waterfall. And I'll explain the waterfall in a second. Select waterfall and click OK. Make it black. Okay, now, so what this is doing, because remember, we're trying to convey something to someone. So we're seeing, remember the first one was revenue, yes? So the school revenue got us 400,000, right? And then we layered on top of that travel revenue, which got us another 600,000. So we're like kind of at $1 million now. Does that make sense? And then hiking got us another 175,000. Boom, boom, boom. Now we want to that total revenue that I selected. That doesn't add in, right? That's just a summary of it. So I'm going to take that data point, click on it. And when we click on one data point, it highlights the whole series. But I want to just focus on this one data point. So how do I just highlight one data point? What do I have to do again? Click again. Not double click, but click, click. You guys remember that from stats? So I just select that data point, and I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to say, set that as a total. You guys see that? Set as total. So notice up here, this is increase, blue is increase, orange is decrease, gray is total. So it says, all right, total revenue is $2,075,000. And then think about it, the expenses are coming out. Then we have expenses of raw material, expenses of labor, of infrastructure, of miscellaneous. I want to do the same thing with this guy, because it is also a data point that's a total. So click on that, click on it again, set it as total. That's better than I thought. So these are all adding up to, this is subtracting from, and the difference between these two, this is the revenue, this is expenses, the difference between the two should be our gross revenue. Let's see, let's go to select data, and let's edit that series. And let's access label range. Let's change that. Oops. So I still want it to be I still want it to be school down to total revenue. I want raw material and total expenses. But the other thing I want that I forgot to include last time is I also want gross income. So I'm holding down a control key, highlighting A7 to A13, A16 to A21, and A23. Just A23, yep, that's the only label I want. This is a label range. I'm gonna click OK. Damn it. Oh, and then I want to go to data range. I'm gonna check chart data range. And I don't know if that's gonna work. I'm trying to add another total here for the gross, for the difference. Let me move this. All right, select data. Data range. Oh, I have to do it. You're right. I have to do all of it. So I'm going to hold down the control key, select A7 through A13, K7 through K13, A16 through A21, K16 through K21, and gross income, gross income. All right, now I have both of those. So I'm going to set this as total. I'm going to set this one as total. I want to set this as total. But gross income is not being calculated right. K13 minus K21. I want to change that because I made that negative. Change it to K13 plus K21. That's what I want to see. All right, so that looks what that's what I want to see. So this is everything that's adding to the revenue. This is total revenue. This is everything that's subtracting. This is total expenses. And this is the difference or the gross income. Okay, so it can help us kind of tell the story, if you will, of where total revenue comes from and where total expenses come and what is contributing to that, both the revenue side and the expense side, and where things even out. And like I said, I haven't used that very often, and it's a little bit of a complicated graph, but I think it can really tell a good story, like a financial story to someone, like what is contributing to total revenue. It's called a waterfall chart, obviously, because it kind of looks like a waterfall. Now this last chart I want to show you also is brand new in 2016. And I've seen these before. I use a package called Data Tableau. And I think they are kind of highly overrated. But I want to show you that it's available. So if we go under market data, and we're going to use what's called a tree map chart. Okay, so these are breakdown of preferences for females and males, what they want in external frame, internal frame, hiking, sports, school, travel. So let's highlight the male-female category, hold that down, and then also highlight the J11 through K22. And I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to go to that chart grouping. I'm going to go to More Statistical Charts. And I'm going to do the tree map. And what this is meant to do, which I don't know why I don't have my male-female breakdown here. What this is meant to do is show us by size, it's by the size of the rectangle, how many people said something. But it should be broken down by male and female, and it's not. So, look at data labels. All right, I'm going to punt on that one. Let's try the tree map. So let's highlight that same data. So I want to do actually this whole table this time. I want to do H11 down to K22. I'm going to go to Insert, go to Statistical Charts, and I'm going to go to the Sunburst chart. And okay, this one looks better. Make it bigger. I'm going to move it to a chart sheet so we can look at it bigger. So what this is meant to show us is these concentric rings are supposed to show you like the breakdown of female and male. Under female, these are the ones that have urban, these are outdoors, this is camping. And in the camping group, these are the two things, internal frame and external frame. Under outdoors, it's hiking and sport. And these outer rings show us, like the volume of that outer ring shows us the volume there. Does that make sense? I would think this might be a better way to explain that than the tree map that I just showed you. So you can see kind of the breakdown here. Let's go back to the original data and change something and see how it changes our graph. So let's make the external frame, let's make it an outlier. Let's make it like 250. That's the female external frame. Okay, so now we see, because female now has a lot more values, this ring becomes bigger, okay? External frame was in camping, so that becomes bigger, and the external frame itself becomes bigger. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like pie charts buried in pie charts. Yes?
How did you get to, like, what did you edit to make it look like
Not make it look like what?
How did you make it
Make it from where?
from the square?
Oh, that's a whole new graph. So, did you do this, Kara? Go to market data, highlight H11 the whole way down to K23. Did you do that?
Yeah.
Go to insert, go under statistical charts, go to more statistical charts, and I didn't want the tree map this time, I want the sunburst. So click on sunburst, and you'll get that. Does everyone understand what that is showing though? Like it's kind of like this is the female male breakdown, and then within female male this is what they said for that second category, and then finally this is the third category with those values, right? So we change that values, it explodes those pie slices or decreases them. Does this make sense? I could explain this one. The tree map, I think I would have a hard time explaining it, and good graphs are graphs that you don't have to take a lot of time to explain. I like that one. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go through this, see if I missed anything. I don't think so. All right, let's start then. We have like 10 minutes left. Let's start your instructor case for Module 4. And it is case 2, which can be found on page 253 of your text. So I'm going to go to Module Tutorials, Module 4, Data Files, Case 2, and I'm going to bring up the circuit workbook. I'm going to put in my name, and I'm going to use the today function. Today's date. Okay, you guys have this up? All right, so step 2 says, we did step 2. Step 3, in the housing tables worksheet, use the range A10 to B14 to create a pie chart of the listings by the number of bedrooms. So A10 to B14, and it wants us to create a pie chart. So I'm going to go to Insert, a two-dimensional pie chart, and insert a two-dimensional pie chart. It wants us to move that chart to the summary worksheet in the range A4 to E15. How do I do that? How would I move that chart? Click on what? Okay, you can right click or click up here under design, move chart, and new object in, instead of housing tables, I want to put it in the summary worksheet. So I click OK, and now you'll see it's in the summary worksheet. It wants us to anchor it to a cell location. So it says move it to A4 to E15. So I'm going to bring it over here, A14, E15, but you notice it's not, it's not perfect. I want to anchor it to A4 and anchor it to B15, or not B15, A4, E15. How do I do that so the corner snaps to that cell? What key did I use? You guys remember? Alt. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key. That corner snaps to A4. This one says what? E15. Okay. That's A4, isn't it?
Like, is it between the two lines?
Like it's covering A4.
Okay, so is it,
Yeah.
it's the line above then, right?
I would say that, yes. Because if I moved it down, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. I would say it should be covering like the cell that it's anchoring, A4, and it's covering E15. I would say it should cover it.
Yeah.
Move the pie chart. We did that. Change the chart title to listings by region. Add data labels showing the percentage of listings in each region, displaying the tables outside the plaza. Okay, so what I'm going to do for that is instead of me changing things, I'm going to go to quick layout. I'm going to choose the first layout. I'm going to pick a color that I like better. And to change the title, I'm just going to click on count and start typing listings by region. I don't like the legend because I already have that up here. So I'm going to click on the chart elements. I'm going to turn off the legend. It wants us to do the same thing. So in the housing tables, that was actually listings by bedroom, right? I skipped a step. I did step 4, not step 3. So I changed that to listings by bedroom. I'm sorry. It wants us to do the same thing with listings by region. So let's do that. Should be the same process. Insert pie chart. Let's move it over to the summary table. Now I didn't show you this, but this is very, very useful. Remember I made a lot of changes to that chart. Like I changed the background, I changed the style options, you guys recall? Well, I don't want to have to do that for every damn chart. I want all the charts in this little summary to look the same. So what I can do is I can click on this original chart and I can say copy. I can click on this second chart and I can go to paste, but I'm going to go to paste special. And I'm going to paste the format. So I copied that chart and pasted its format over. So now, you know what I'm saying? Like if I have one chart that looks nice and has the logo on it I want, all those good things, I don't have to go through those different options every time. I can just paste that format onto there, right? And this one is listings by region, I guess. And I know this is opposite of what I was doing. But it wants this anchored to A17 to E28. So let's bring that down. A17. Hold down the Alt key. And not B28, E28. Let's do the same thing for listings by bathroom. Which is over here on the housing table, insert pie, move it over. Let's copy the format. And once this one an A30 through E334, A32. It says E341, but I think it's a typo. Alt. Make it the same size as those. 42. E42. Oh, and once it say listings by. Yep. Okay, so let's save where we're at. Start this on Friday. So I'm going to save this to my desktop here. What we're building here, sometimes it depends what tool you're using. But we're building a summary tab that has going to have multiple charts on it to tell a story. Sometimes they call it like a storyboard, or sometimes they call it a dashboard, right? Like one view of all this stuff that's going on in the spreadsheet. And what's nice about that, is if things change in our original data, I'm going to go back here and I don't know, change this to maybe there's an influx of 2-bedroom apartments. The original data, the summary or the dashboard that I created, will reflect that. Appropriately, right? So automatically updates that. So save that. We'll finish that up on Friday. I was in the lab downstairs, and unfortunately, it's not really conducive to it's conducive to lab work, right? Like if you guys are doing something and I'm coming around helping you, it's conducive to that. It's not real conducive to someone standing in front of you and showing you something the way it's configured. So I'd still like to use it. So what I'm going to do, I think, is designate certain days as lab days. I don't know, maybe Monday we'll go down there. Because I'd like to, how many people have used dual monitor before? Where did you guys use, like an internship somewhere? Okay. And it really has become the de facto standard in the business world. And really it can help with this kind of stuff. I want to get that lab open as well in the evenings so you guys can come over and use it. There's a lot of people in the School of Business that want to lock everything down because they're afraid of it being, like, we have a new shiny thing, you know what I mean? Yeah, well, I'm not one of those people I want to open, but anyways, that's an uphill battle. I'll see you guys. Yeah, if you're going to have evening hours on there, right?
Yeah, pretty much.